stand for justice, for a brighter future. Let's do this together in peace and harmony. CC could take us there to the promised land. No one will stop us now. No, 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 no.
With sincerity, fidelity, and unity, we will achieve the best in Africa. I am the fullest, the return of ancestors. Thank you.
What we are fighting here is so simple. Then let there be a plebiscite. Simple.
I believe my colleague from Commonwealth gave her for a skilled history of the British Southern Cameroon. He left out one important factor or one important event in the history of the Cameroon, which is known as the Sarbah Conference of 1951. That was a declaration or an agreement and an arrangement between the British and Southern Cameroon to form a union, a federal republic. And even with the question or with the motion that was posed today, the sole purpose of the union between the British Southern Cameroon and the French Cameroon was a Pan-African action, and what the Pan-African Act will be. With the union, they sought to do away with the former colonial map that was created and the partitioning in dividing them. So they sought to come together as one country instead of being divided as British and French Cameroon. The then Cameroon, being governed by Germany, was a united British Southern Cameroon together with the then French existing Cameroon. So what they sought to do was to form this union and be united as one country, not to be divided by any colonial language imposed on them, that is being the British language, English, and the French language, as they continue to do today. So 6 decades after independence, the Anglophone and the Francophone Cameroonians have not been able to find a single common ground, which is all attributable to this colonial language that has been imposed on them. And it is time that as Africans, we continue to find our identity as Africans by speaking our mother tongue. There has been a lot of research that has been done and conducted by a lot of researchers, even in Ghana, showing that we are doing away with our local language due to the continuous speaking of Anglophone language which has been imposed on us. Based on even the submission by my brother from the Southern Cameroon from Mensah, it clearly shows that the Cameroonians are a united country, but the problem has to come from the elites who continue to have power and continue to do things that are always in their favor. Since Cameroon got independence in 1960, it has only been ruled by only 2 presidents. The first president being Ahmed Aïdjo, who ruled from 5th May 1960 and resigned in 6th November 1982, and then was followed by Paul Biya, who continued to rule from 6th November 1982 till now. So the problem has to be with the leadership, who are continuing to do things that are in favor of the colonial powers and the colonial structures that continue to exist within the neo-colonial structure that has enslaved us today. So there is a need for us to find a Pan-African solution to the problem in the Southern Cameroon. Language is the basis of honoring reunification. It can play a fundamental role As long as we have not made this choice, there will always be a problem of the Anglophone and Francophone divide in Southern and French Cameroon. The reunification of the British Southern Cameroon and French Cameroonian was one that stood out as a great Pan-African act which must be celebrated. Although my colleagues from the other side will continue to countenance this particular event and seek out for independence and stuff, I do believe that with independence may come certain issues that we may not be able to deal with, but I believe we should be able to continue to have negotiations and concessions to find solutions to the problem that continue to affect us within the neo-colonial structure that we found ourselves, or the neo-colonial global system that we live in. Because without finding solution to this problem, we will still continue to have it, whether or not the British sounding Cameroonians have been given independence. A typical example is South Sudan, which got independence from the nation of Sudan, and still continue to have conflict and issues within this country. We can even cite example of Eritrea, which got divided from Ethiopia. They still continue to have a lot of conflict and issues, and even with an authoritarian leader in power. These are many other reasons why we seek for the reunification of the two Cameroonians and finding solutions through negotiations and concessions, just as they did during the Sarbah conference. And I believe that the power belongs to the people, which is why during every election, I will call on the people to continue to vote and show their power, because once they are able to vote to remove one of the leaders or any leader from power, they will be able to stand out and fight for what they really want and be able to get the best that they deserve from the leader that they appoint. When the people show their power through elections, I believe that when we all decide to vote for one particular person, we will be able to vote for that particular person, and whenever there is an election that has been rigged, we will be able to identify that and also know that yes, this election has been rigged, because we know this leader isn't the choice that we voted for. Even there can be an election that the people can decide that this particular year we are not going to vote. We are not going to cast ballots to send a message to the leader who wants to rig an election in that particular region. Let's say Amazonia. We are having the Cameroonian national election. Amazonians can decide not to vote at all in that particular election. And that will send a strong message to the current leader in power, Paul Biya. And this particular issue, we are fighting against a structure which continues to try to implement itself through different forms and different shapes. The existing leadership or the existing structures are being run by the former colonial powers, and this is what we as Pan-Africanists, or people who believe in the Pan-African agenda and the liberation of Africa, must fight against. I read in my history book that one day Kwame Nkrumah visited British Southern Cameroon and paid a visit to their then leader, which sent a strong message to me and sent me back to the day that Kwame Nkrumah was declaring the independence of Ghana. That the independence of Ghana is not only the independence of Ghana, but it is linked to the total liberation of Africa, which I believe that we must reunite and fight against the colonial power who tried to impose themselves on us. And even during the Berlin conference, we never had any representative from Africa. But the whites stood down and divided Africa as if it was a piece of cake to them. But right now, we should fight against this structure, and we shouldn't divide ourselves. We are all one. We are all black. The colonial language is not our language. It is neither our culture. We have our own unique cultures and celebrate it. And I do appreciate the traditional affairs that I see here, and I do love it. And I will one day want to thank you for myself. Thank you very much.
Water na water, today not today. Nobody go sees us to jubilate. Nelson Mandela and Nkrumah. It's now Sisi Kustan. Hey, hey, Africa, hey, Africa, hey, Africa, hey. Africa, hey, Africa, hey, Africa, hey. Come together, help your brother, hey, Africa, hey. Dance together, love another, hey, Africa, hey.
Mama
behind you. I'm Amazonia. We leave the Paris. Amazonia the Cayo. Levez-vous. Milana Tam, le stratège. Picking for Amazonia. Honorable Weaver, warrior from Jakiri. Justice A.